frankly, are bound by the original architecture. You know, when the I would like to invite Steve out and have him show you a little bit about what he's been doing for the last decade. Steve?
Let's chat for a few minutes about what we're trying to do here. Okay, slides. This is our mission. What we want to try to do is to provide relevant, compelling solutions that customers can only get from Apple. Right? That's what we want to do, because if we can't figure out how to do that, then I think there's a lot of other options for people to buy their computers from, and we might not sell enough computers. So this is what we want to do. Now, how do we go about doing that? Well, Apple brings a lot to this party, right? As a platform vendor, it brings quite a few things, but it can't do it alone. It needs the developers. It always has, it always will. So Apple can bring a breakthrough platform. Apple can bring the system integration to pull the solution together. And Apple can bring the marketing power to make the solution known. But it's the developers that bring the creative insight most of the time. It's the developers that bring the market knowledge. And it's the developers that bring that entrepreneurial energy. In a large company, there are not as many cars in the parking lot on Sunday at 3 p.m. as there are at a developer. So how do we go about this? Well, let me give you some examples first of all. First one I was in was PageMaker, right? The Macintosh plus PageMaker plus the LaserWriter created the desktop publishing marketplace. Apple didn't do it alone. And the reason Paul Brainerd chose to develop PageMaker on the Mac wasn't because he wanted to, it's because he had to. There wasn't a choice. There was no other platform that could have supported what he needed to do. Another example here, Director, right? The Macintosh and Director and QuickTime has what's made the entertainment market. It created this whole new marketplace. Again, it wasn't Apple doing it alone. It couldn't have done it without Director. So, we've got to get the spark back with the developers. And you guys have to stop making me blind. So, we've got to get the developers back. Now, how are we going to do that? What's our strategy to do that? It started off, I'm not going to go back to the Apple II days, so we'll just start off with DOS. Now, if you're a developer, you can build an app, let's use the metaphor of the floors of a building. You can build an app that's 3 floors tall. But you can't build an app that's 10 floors tall. Because you've all read the Mythical Man Month. What happens is if your software team starts getting bigger, it kind of collapses under its own weight. It's like a building built of wood. You can't build a building built of wood that high. So let's say you can build a 3-story app. Well, that means if you start off with DOS, you're on the 1st floor. You can deliver a 4th-story app. Okay? Well, what we did with the Mac was we had an OS that was about the same as DOS. But then what we did was we put this thing called the toolbox on top of it that lifted the developer up to the 5th floor so that they could write an app like PageMaker, deliver an 8th floor app on Mac because they started at the 5th floor. They could never, ever, ever deliver on DOS. And that's why all these wonderful apps propelled Apple into these exciting markets over the years. But there's a problem now. And the problem is a very simple one. It's called Windows. The Mac didn't progress much beyond the 5th floor, and over 10 years, Microsoft copied it. And now they can offer a developer, you know, you squint your eyes, one's a little better than the other in some areas, but you squint your eyes and they're basically both 5th floor. That's not good for us. It's even a little worse, because they've been a little ahead of us in getting a multi-threaded, multitasking operating system underneath Windows. And that's arguably even better for the developer. So here's what we have to do. What we have to do is bring out an operating system that's even more advanced than NT. And this is not easy. This is not easy to do because these operating systems are very complex. We forget many times that it's taken NT 8 years to get where it is today. 8 years. So to do this, we can't do this overnight. Fortunately, we've got one that has been battle tested and is ready for the challenge. But on top of that, we're going to put something called OpenStack lets you start developing your apps on the 20th floor. And the kinds of apps you can deliver are phenomenal. But there's another hidden advantage. Most of the great breakthroughs, the page makers, the illustrators, etc., the directors, come from smaller software companies. It's been said a few times today. They don't come from the large software companies. They come from the smaller ones. And one of the greatest things is that using this new technology, 2 people or 3 people in a garage can build an app and get it from concept to market in 6 to 9 months that is every bit as feature-rich, every bit as reliable, and every bit as exciting as a giant software company can do with a 150-person team. It's phenomenal. And so one of the things we are really going to stress is seeing 100 new software companies get started around this new technology to build the next generation of page makers. Into some of the details of what this stuff is, at the risk of boring you. The first thing is it's an operating system. We call it Mac OS. It's a version of Unix with the Mac kernel in it. It's very, very advanced, and yet it's very mature. We've been shipping this for over 5 years into mission-critical enterprise applications. I get calls at 3 in the morning when this thing breaks. And believe me, there's a lot of scar tissue in terms of building up a reliable, mature OS. Microsoft will confirm this. It's got multitasking and multi-threading, symmetrical multiprocessing, all the nice things. Very advanced virtual memory, very fast driver creation. We actually apply the object-oriented technology to write drivers so that we can write drivers literally an order of magnitude faster than for any other operating system we're aware of. It's tuned for real-time media, and I'll demonstrate some of this a little bit later on, obviously very important for the markets that we're in. It's cross-platform, meaning not only does it run on different platforms, but there are technologies for bundling together the different parts of the binaries for each platform so you can run one file. You can have one version of the app sitting on a server and click on it from any number of different clients with different processors in them, and it'll figure out the right binary to load and go all automatically. So you don't have to have a file of 68K apps, a file of PowerPC apps, a file of what have you. And it runs on Intel processors today. You can get versions of the software today to begin developing your apps on, and develop apps in parallel with a port of this software to Apple's PowerPC boxes. So we run on Intel today. We intend to sell